Shabbat Shalom and good Yentif. I read earlier this week about fake news that has been circulating regarding last week's devastating Hurricane Helene. The fake news includes accusations that the storm was engineered by Jews. And it included hateful rhetoric against the Jewish mayor of Asheville, FEMA's director of public affairs, and the secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. In this time of unprecedented meteorologic chaos and destruction, blaming the Jews, apparently, is one of the ways people are facing the magnitude of their loss. Unbelievable. And yet, sadly, it is not. Because anti-Semitism, better known as Jew hatred, or more accurately called Jew hatred, is something we have always faced. And now, levels are higher than most of us have known in our lifetimes. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. of blessed memory once said, "I have decided to stick with love, for I know that love is ultimately the only answer to humankind's problems, and I'm going to talk about it everywhere I go, about a strong, demanding love, for I have seen too much hate, and hate is too great a burden to bear, and I have decided to love." In Judaism, we have many words for love, but my favorite is rachmanis, which is Yiddish for the word rachamim, often translated as loving compassion. Dr. King faced so much hatred, but he actively chose to rise above it with love. These times, not unlike the times in which Dr. King lived, are hate-evoking times. With all that is happening in Israel and with her neighbors, inside and outside of her borders since October 7th, and on top of so much painful history, and with the different ways Jews and non-Jews are responding to all of this, hate is sadly in the air. It is on the outside coming in, it is on the inside going out, and it is even within our Jewish spaces. Connected to, or perhaps underneath the hate, are feelings and thoughts of rage, fear, threat, distrust, betrayal, exasperation, trauma, injustice, lack of control, and a very long list of painful feelings. I recently was reading about hate, and therapist Allison Abrams explains that hate can distract oneself from feelings such as helplessness, powerlessness, injustice, inadequacy, and shame. Hate is grounded in some sense of perceived threat. Like anger, it is a reaction to and a distraction from some form of inner pain, and that each moment of hate is a temporary reprieve from inner suffering. The tshuva we are engaging with is about doing the inner work, to understand the inner landscape operating under the surface of our lives, guiding us as we respond to everything, and hopefully will help us avoid turning to hate as an outlet for our suffering. Another therapist, Sylvia Ducevici, supports the importance of this work, adding, "Facing the fear of being vulnerable and utterly human is what allows us to connect, feel, and ultimately love." This too is the work of Yom Kippur. We are asked to be vulnerable, facing ourselves and our mortality so that we can emerge with humanity and consolation and humility, so that we can move forward less afraid and more grounded and, God willing, less susceptible to hate and more capable of love. Many at Emek Shalom practice musar, which teaches us to decrease the burden of the other. Musar teaches that doing this can only be done from uncovering what is operating within us that might get in the way of this tending. Musar and Yom Kippur ask us to truthfully know and come to terms with ourselves. This is both personal and communal work. And so, who are we? Each of us is guided by values, gifted to us by our childhoods, our teachers, the civic laws of this land, the ethics of Judaism, and countless factors. All have shaped us into the value-driven beings that we are. And some of these factors might be where we were born and our socioeconomic situations, our gender and sexual orientation, our skin color, and the generation in which we were born, our interfaith families, and our backgrounds in traditional religious or secular, Jewish or non-Jewish families, our relationship status, and if we have children, or if we have adopted children, or if others have adopted us, our immigration stories, if we chose to be Jewish, or if we love someone who is Jewish, or if we, as Jews, love someone who is not Jewish, if we are disabled, if we have been abused as children and or as adults, if we were bullied because of any aspect of our identity, if we have lived on a kibbutz or studied in and made aliyah to Israel, if we have done peace work in Gaza or the West Bank, if we have lost family in the Holocaust or almost lost family in the Holocaust, if we lost or knew anyone who lost someone on October 7th or since. There is every reason in the world that makes us different from each other, uniquely who we are, and value what we value. And this makes us and our relationships and conflict resolution complicated. As humans, we often ask, especially on days like today, what is the purpose of life? To be happy, to love and be loved, to treasure, to heal, mend, and repair the world, to serve, to survive. And as diverse Jewish humans, we might further ask, what is the purpose of Judaism? To honor our past, to live Jewishly, to be guided by Jewish values, to be connected, to find meaning, to wrestle with God, to know God. And some of us might even ask, what is the most important imperative for me as a person? Or what is the most important imperative for me as a Jew? Each of us will have a unique answer to these questions. Sometimes they'll be similar, sometimes they'll be different, sometimes we'll have multiple answers, and sometimes we might have similar answers, but we'll rank them differently in order of priority, which means when it comes down to it, we will land and act from a different place. This question of what is the most important imperative has precedence in Judaism. I mentioned one answer last night given by Rabbi Nachman of Bretzlav, who said it is to be continually in a state of simcha, joy. To which my beloved Reb Marsha Prager said, yes, but that really means to be present to all that is. A similar conversation between the rabbis of the Talmud includes when Rabbi Hillel was challenged to answer, what is the essence of all of Torah while standing on one foot? And he said, that which is hateful to you, do not do to another. That is the entire Torah. The rest is commentary. Rabbi Akiva agreed with Rabbi Hillel, but said it slightly differently. The commandment, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself, is an all-embracing principle in the Torah. And Rabbi Shimon ben Azai disagreed with Akiva and said that the most important principle of the Torah is that all of humanity was made in the image of God. And there are, of course, more answers and more debates regarding this in our canon, and so many point to tending the other in some way with loving compassion, with rachmanis. Remarkably, our oral Torah, all that came after the written Torah, is in large part a multi-sided debate, all preserved between amazing minds spanning the generations. Rachel Goldberg, mother of deceased hostage Hirsch Goldberg Poland of blessed memory, shared this past July 2 examples of such Talmud stories that speak to this, teaching how we must connect across our differences to heal. She shared about the rabbis Hillel and Shammai, explaining that they approached things very differently and both were so wise, but most decisions always landed on the side of Hillel. Why? Some say that is because Hillel was so kind and humble. You see, usually Hillel would first present Shammai's opinion. And Rachel explained he would do so in such a compelling and respectful way that his students each time were convinced that this must surely be the way that the law should be understood. Only at that point did Rabbi Hillel's finish that explanation that he would say, with respect and honor, I actually think the following. And only then would he go on to elucidate his opinion. There was no name-calling, no shouting, never attempts to tear down Shammai's ideas, nor Shammai as a person as unworthy. Hillel simply disagreed, but only after truly delving deeply, teaching and endeavoring to comprehend Shammai's approach. Rachel concluded, you don't have to agree with the other side, but we must try to understand them. And I think that is what Hillel did so very well, with conviction and with deference. Rachel then shared about 2 other disagreeing sages of the Talmud, Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rachel shared again that these 2 rabbis had 2 very different backgrounds, and because they were so different, when they learned together, their sessions were animated with feverish and dynamic dimensions and debates. But when Reish Lakish died, Rabbi Yochanan became very depressed. His concerned students found him a new, brilliant study partner, but every time Rabbi Yochanan would present his opinion, the new partner would agree with him, saying all the reasons why Yochanan was correct. It is in a dramatically described episode in the Talmud where Yochanan finally loses his temper and angrily points out, you don't need to tell me the 24 reasons why I'm right. Obviously, I think I'm right. Reish Lakish used to tell me the 24 reasons why I was wrong, and then we would grapple and tease and broaden our understanding of the topic. Rachel pointed out that we learn from this that it is critical that we surround ourselves with others who are smart and capable, but who are not just carbon copies of ourselves and who are not simply yes people. She added how valuable and imperative it is to have people in our circle who think differently than we do. And if we surround ourselves only with those who think and believe exactly as we do, then we don't push ourselves to stretch, reflect, and deepen our understanding of how we perceive and grasp the world. The Talmud captures so many disagreements between these sages because Judaism understands we are so very different as we grapple with how to navigate the complexity of life. Our Haftarah in Isaiah that Owen will soon chant for us says today that on this holiest day of atonement, more important than any fast of personal affliction is to unlock the bonds of wickedness and you untie the cords of the yoke, to let the oppressed go free, to break off every yoke, share your bread with the hungry, and take the poor into your home, clothe the naked, and do not ignore your own kin. And all of this that is said to atone for us is about helping others. Helping others is rachmanis, loving compassion, and it sure seems that it is an antidote to the brokenness and the suffering of our world. We reflect so deeply today on what makes us who we are, as our fellow Jews do that beside us. They are not the same as us, but they care about so many things for so many reasons. I want to choose rachmanis for them, like Dr. King. I want to give my fellow Jews the benefit of the doubt that they are doing the best they can with the tools they have in this moment. We don't have to like everyone. We don't have to agree with everyone, but we might have more in common with others than we think. How will we know if we do not listen to them, if we do not encounter them with our rachmanis? This past year has not only brought about the painful affirmation of how pervasive Jew hatred is, it has brought up how diverse we are as a Jewish people, and it has been really hard. But even though it is hard, can we choose to live like Dr. King? I have heard hard stories about communities fracturing and friendships ending since October 7th. I do not want this to happen at Temple Emek Shalom, and I don't think that it will, because I believe we can choose otherwise. I read recently that hate can be overcome by reaching out across the divide to others, because it is through these acts that one can understand hate and love, and that ultimately the antidote to hate is compassion for others as well as ourselves. And so when the world has decided to lose its mind, when traumas run generations deep, when so many need healing and there is no real Shabbat rest for them to return to their wholeness, when we are hated because we are Jewish, when we are tempted to hate others because we are hated and scared, and I hope we can face our pain, anguish, and fear and find compassion for ourselves and others in our midst. John Polin, Rachel Goldberg's husband, and Hirsch Goldberg Poland's father said recently, "There is a surplus of agony on all sides of the tragic conflict in the Middle East. In a competition of pain, there are no winners. In our Jewish tradition, we say, Kol Adam Olam U Melo'o. Every person is an entire universe. We must serve all the universes." Rachel and John, even as they walked with their personal anguish, worked tirelessly to save their dear son, along with all of the other hostages. They spoke every day with understanding that healing and problem solving needs to happen in dialogue and with understanding across the divides to resolve the unbearable conflict in Israel and to bring the hostages home. In this new year, may we be like Rachel and John, talking with and listening to anyone and everyone to find a way forward. May we be like Rav Hillel, honoring other opinions to the fullest. May we be like Reish Lakish and not only say yes. And may we be like Rabbi Yochanan and treasure the dissenting opinions. And may we be like Dr. King and choose love. May we ask ourselves, how will we honor the universe that we each are, as we honor the universes of all of the others, all made in the image of God? May we give ourselves and each other the benefit of the doubt. May we love our neighbors as ourselves with rachmanis, like Dr. King's strong, demanding love. And may we be more kind, so that our world might know peace, healing, and redemption, such that the blessing that Owen will soon chant for us of our Haftorah will come true. This is the blessing. Then shall your light burst through like the dawn, and your healing spring up quickly. The presence of God shall be your rear guard. Then when you call, God will answer. When you cry, God will say, "Here I am, hineni." Then shall your light shine in the darkness, and your gloom shall be like noonday. God will guide you always. slaking your thirst in parched places and giving strength to your bones. You shall be like a watered garden, like a spring whose waters do not fail, and you shall be called repairer of fallen walls, restorer of lanes for habitation. May it be so. Gemar Tov, and may we be more kind and sing a song about it. Shabbat Shalom.